I'm here with my buddy Jonathan for another Coach's Corner, where we just talk about what's front of mind. It's been a couple weeks since we've gotten to meet. Me and Jonathan both have lots of life and family stuff going on. My head coach is slowly coming back, so
Nice.
kind of getting off of me a little bit, which is nice. Also my twin life is getting easier. But anyways, love doing these chats. We just kind of bring a topic that's top to mind. We can talk about it, ask each other questions, and go from there. Sound good?
Yeah, man, I love it.
Alrighty. If this is your first time listening, I'm Mike Gonzano, owner of BetterSwimCoach.com. This is Jonathan Kaplan, the head coach of Swim RBA. What city are you in?
We're in Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia. Okay, cool. The
Yeah,
R
man.
for Richmond. Great.
That's right. The capital.
RVA. Sweet. All right, man. What do you got? How about you start? What's on your mind?
Well, I'll tell you, it actually came to me last night. I was actually finished up an early practice. I think I told you before, I'm actually rotating through all of our practice groups in our different time slots now. So I can spend more time with like every parts of the team. And yesterday just happened to work out really well that I was done with the earlier practices and got home a little bit earlier than I normally would. And my 7-year-old was wanting to go to a like a Cub Scout meeting for the first time, just to like check it out and see, what it was like and stuff, which was really cool. I don't know if you were in Scouts or anything. I was in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts growing up. Never quite made it to Eagle Scout. Swimming got a little too intense, and so I kind of stopped at that point. But um, anyway, so we're in this meeting last night, and I'm thinking, we'll just do some crafts and like let them meet some kids and hear about what it's going to be like. And they had a gentleman who was a music director, and I wish I could give him credit because I can't remember his name, but he's a music director for a church in the area, and he was just talking about how to treat other people and stuff like that, and that kind of speaks to my heart a little bit because a lot of what we do as coaches is working with youth and working with people and developing relationships and stuff like that. And a lot of our responsibility is helping other people feel really, really good about themselves. So anyway, one of the things he talked about for maybe about 10, 15 minutes was the three T's, the three things that you can give other people. And he talked about the differences and the importance of giving those things to other people. The first one is the most important thing you can give other people is your time. The second one was the most important thing you can give them is your talent. And the third thing is your treasure. So in this case, like if you monetarily could donate to someone. Obviously, all three of those are special for a lot of reasons, but the time component really kind of hit me a lot last night. And I realized, the number of times that I've, reached out to families or spent, a half hour with them on the phone or done a goal meeting that went extra long with an athlete or something like that. And it always kind of surprised me that people would, thank me for spending time with them. Like, I know you're really busy. I just want to say it means so much to have you give me your time and talk. And it's like that doesn't even like cross my mind. It's like that's the second nature to me. Is like, of course I'm giving you my time. What else would I do? But then the longer I've been in this profession, I realize that that's not something that everybody does. Your time is valuable, and so anyway, I would love to hear how you guys go about making sure that the athletes get one-on-one time with you, the parents get time with you. Like, how do you go about that?
Yeah, so this is probably gonna sound bad, but
Oh, did I set you up in a terrible way?
yeah, no. I think everything you're saying, I think what you were saying there about the time is great. And as you get older and more experienced, you realize how valuable time is.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So we were spending a lot of time with athletes, like goal meetings and stuff like that. And we felt like the juice wasn't really worth the squeeze for it.
Right.
So I used to do, and my head coach used to do, like kind of like a mandatory goal meeting with everybody, and we'd really go out of our way to try to. We're going to spend time, have this goal meeting, maybe some extra phone calls, this and that sort of thing, and it was really falling short with the kids who didn't really feel like they wanted that or needed that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've kind of shifted to we do it, we give them the opportunity to have moments like that. Let's just talk about goal meetings. Like the way I do it is I give all my kids a goal sheet and I say it's optional to fill this out. This is going to help me coach you better. But if you fill this out, I'll sit down with you and have a goal meeting and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
The reason why I do it that way is because I just need a little more skin in the game from the kid, like to
Yeah.
spend a little time outside of the pool to think about what they want, right? If I'm going to spend time sitting down with them and really break it down for them, otherwise, if they don't fill out the goal thing, if it's not that big of a deal for them, then the everyday coaching is going to suffice for that stuff.
Right.
And we kind of do the same thing at the higher level of our team. But I will tell you, when we know that when we know it will be special and we know it will really matter to that athlete, then we do take the time. Like for example, we had a kid who going through some crazy life stuff, but like me and our head coach, we took them out to lunch, right?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
On them. And that's something we do very rarely with kids. All of our kids who are seriously thinking about swimming in college, we try to have one-on-ones with them and their parents to answer individual questions and to
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So with us, we do it. I guess we're a little more strategic than we used to be. Instead of trying to do it with everybody all the time, um, as you get to the more competitive side of the team, that's what it looks like. We do it when it really matters, or if a kid specifically asks. On the lower end of our team, though, we know that communication is huge, and we want to set a good tone for at the end of the day, we're a youth sports organization, right? So
Right.
all the families that are like in the first 6 months to a year on our team, we call them once a month. So our full-time coaching staff, and if we don't get a hold of them on a phone call, we shoot them a text. So it's about 160, 170 families that we just call them and be like, "Hey, how's it going?
How's it going? Yeah.
Is there
We
anything?"
call them check-ins. We do the same type of thing.
Just because there's so much new. I mean, swimming is a different language when you've never really been a part of a swim team. So
Right.
short course, long course, B time, A time. Like there's just so many crazy things we throw out there.
I call it swimminese. That's the language, swimminese.
It's like
And
swim, actual warm up, heats, lanes. I mean, down to the simplest thing, right? So at the newest end of our team, we try to spend that time to really communicate with them individually every week. We've been it's been more bi-weekly lately. We used to do a Facebook Live video
oh yeah.
where me and my head coach would sit down and we would talk about a topic as part of like parent education, and we would take live questions, which we do have we would have a steady following of like 10 to 15 parents who would tune in, but we have another 15 to 30 parents who watch the replay. But
Oh,
we
that's cool.
tend to making YouTube videos to put out once a week. The live thing was just getting kind of hard. We've been doing that for like 5 years almost, actually.
That's a really good idea.
So those are the different ways we spend time trying to help our families, other than the what's expected, right? Have a workout ready, create a safe environment for their
Or
kids.
yeah. Yeah, that would be the gentleman. I really wish I could give him credit. Because this is not my stuff. I'm just passing it along and how it applies. But what you're describing with like writing the workouts and stuff like that's your talent, right? Our talent is correcting stroke technique and building, training uh, cycles and workouts and inspiring kids. But the time is, time and talent are two separate things in this scenario. Um, one recommendation I give to coaches is because you're describing like the time, the first thing that comes to mind when you think of time with athletes, you're thinking, well, yeah, goal meetings, right? That's or we're talking about their swimming or checking in and stuff like that. And those are absolutely very appropriate, examples of time that we need to be giving to our families. I've also learned over the years that, and I'm sure most coaches have had that kid that's maybe kind of a pain in the butt, or they're not really listening, or they're a little bit, distracting to the rest of the group or something like that. And you think the kid doesn't want to be there, you think they don't like you, or think they hate swimming. And I've experienced if you just give those kids a little bit of time in a positive way, um, most of the time they're actually really just they're just starving for attention.
Yeah.
And so negative attention is actually better than no attention at all. You see this a lot with kids acting out of home when their parents maybe are really busy and stuff. You kind of get that, on the pool deck. So if you ever have a kid that's acting out, I would actually spend more time on them, like on a positive way, and you're
Yeah.
gonna find you're gonna turn that kid around. But I've also experienced times where, like I said at the beginning of this, that's just the way I operate. Like I take time and want to spend it with people, even people that I don't coach. I spend time with them, and it's always kind of surprised me, still does to this day, the number of times where I might get like a card from the family, over the holidays. And I'm like, really? I'm getting a card from that family? Or, the kid comes up and gives me a gift or something like that. Or I get like this long email from the parent, like, you don't understand how much it meant to him that you took the time. And in mind, you're thinking, that's not the kid that was invested. Like you're saying, if they got skin in the game, we want to invest time in them. The kids, sometimes that's how they get the skin in the game, is by getting the time from you and feeling important, and then they start to reciprocate, and the next thing you know, you're like, man, I can't believe the impact that I had, and all I did was just, I just talked to them because that's just what I do. But it really goes a long way.
Yeah, and my example, on the surface, it's going to sound like we're only pouring more time into the kids who are trying. But as so me and my head coach, she just had a baby, I just had a baby. We're the only coaches on staff that have kids. Um, so it just gets harder,
Yeah.
right? Time outside of practice. It's just harder. I don't know. It's like it is what it is. Like swim coaching is an unlimited time type of job where you could work 14 hours a day every day if you really
I've
want.
done it. I've done it and loved every second of it
There,
before I had kids.
yes, there's 100% dozens of things you can do. So I have found ways to like pour more into kids time wise during practice, or even after practice, where it's like I don't love private lessons, um, partly because of the time constraint. Like, yeah, I'll
Right.
get, but like it's an extra 30 minutes on the day for me. And like if it's outside of practice time, I gotta drive there, drive back. So like I don't love it, but I do love if a kid needs something 10 minutes after practice,
Yeah.
that little extra 10 minutes, and that sometimes that 10 minutes, and then I don't charge them, helping them out, you know what I mean?
Right.
uh it's just it's really good for the kid, that little extra 10 minutes. um and I do try to spend time to help kids hit that, what's it called, I guess in a black hole, the event horizon. It's like the point of no return or something, right?
Yeah.
Or what's it called, like breakaway speed? I'm not sure. I think it's in physics, maybe breakaway velocity. What's it called? The speed to break through the atmosphere?
Oh, the sound barrier, you mean? Like
No.
breaking the sound barrier?
And
You
anyways,
mean the speed necessary to physically break through the atmosphere? I don't actually know that
yeah,
term.
to get through the dome that's over
Yeah.
the.
Yeah,
Like,
over the earth, yeah.
I'm just conspiracy theory that we're in a dome.
Oh, the literal dome, like the Truman Show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, I try to spend a lot of time trying to help a kid get to that moment where they need me less.
Yeah.
Like, really hard to do that because I know to be really successful in this sport, it's got to be theirs. So it's like ownership is so key. So, anyways, that's kind of my, like, I'll take those extra 10 minutes, or I'll pull away a group of 6 kids out of the practice group and let my assistant run the majority of the group. And
Right.
I need these 6 kids to just get this one thing. Because I know if they get this one thing, every time we do it in practice, I don't have to keep writing on them for doing it wrong. And then
Right.
they're getting better. So I have found ways to give time to kids in a workout more than outside of the workout because of my current life stage. Outside of the workout is just hard.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been practical.
It's really hard. And honestly, I'd like to hear. And I would imagine there's, as we do more of these, I'm hoping we get more and more coaches. So coaches, if you like this, tell people about it, because there's going to be some good stuff coming on here. But you would probably have coaches on here who are listening who have families, and they sympathize and they understand, and they're like, I don't know how everybody does it. I can barely keep my own head above water,
Mhm.
with my kids in school and activities, and I've got my job to do, and I'm traveling for meets and stuff. But we probably have, quite a few people who were where we were several years ago, and they don't have families yet, and they're totally invested in the sport, and they've got the time,
Yeah,
to put everything into it, but they also want to be prepared for the time when maybe they do have families. And the only preparation I got as a young coach for this point in my life slash coaching career was make family really important. Like, always put family first,
good.
which is great advice. This is advice coming from, a lot of coaches who their marriages didn't make it, and they did have their families break apart
Mhm.
because of coaching, and that's happened. That's a pretty normal thing, and obviously you don't want that to happen.
Yeah,
But that was it. Like, I never got the advice on how to do that. Like, I know it's a priority and I make it a priority, but until you're in the thick of it and you're trying to balance, your kids' schedules and your family schedule, and you care very much about both. And obviously your family always has to come first, or else you're going to fall into that trap that the coaches warned us about. What would be your advice, now that you're in the thick of it as a dad with, twins and a full family, you got 3 kids, how do you balance being willing to spend that time that's necessary on the job without overloading the time here? And do you have any advice for, like, the young coaches coming up who are like, I'm going to be there one day?
yeah. One, be good at your job. So the stuff you need to get done, you can do it quickly and well.
Mm.
Right. So I feel like with every kid I've had, I've gotten more efficient, like working constraints will do to your efficiency. So
Right.
find different ways to have meetings or do your actual work well. So it's like just do your job really well. Um, don't like you can't procrastinate, stuff like that, right? The main advice I have is going to sound really judgmental, and but I say it all the time. Like
Yeah.
be you have to be focused and you have to be a good husband and a good dad. Like that's so for me, it might not be the same for everybody, but for me, that means like I don't go out and drink
Right.
because that isn't just the time it takes to do that, but like going out and drinking, like I sleep like crap, I feel like crap the next day. Like I just don't drink. I might drink once every other month and like
Right.
have a whiskey with a friend or something. But like I don't go out and drink, right?
Right.
Because that takes away from me being a great dad in the morning. Like the Sunday morning, the only morning I have off, right?
Right. Right.
So it gets in the way of that. I don't. I play like a little video game on my phone sometimes, but like when I started having kids, I got rid of all my video games and I don't watch TV. So like because when I'm home, I need to be home, right? If I want as a swim coach, you're gonna have limited time at home, and that means you need to maximize the time you have for it to matter.
Yeah.
Like I would hate, dude. I mean, this is me personally. Like the standard I've set for myself as a dad. Like I would hate for my kid's memory of me to be that he just wasn't around. Right?
Yeah.
That would kill me, dude. It would kill me.
I'm
Right?
telling you, man,
I would
it hits the heart hard, doesn't it?
if I really felt like coaching got in the way of my family, I would quit.
Right. Yeah, me too.
I don't hear coaches say. Um, So I would quit. Also, my wife knows that if it ever really got in the way, I would quit. So my wife knows that my family is my number one, right? And we have had times where it really felt like swimming was my number one. Championship season is
It's
tough.
hard not to. Yeah, you're multiple weeks in a row, you got to be gone.
And then you also feel like maybe you're not doing a great job in multiple, like, I can't. There's has also been times where I'm like, wow, I'm like an 80% swim coach, 80% dad, 80% husband right now. And that part sucks. Or
That's a
sometimes
horrible feeling.
feeling
Yeah.
so my main advice is like do the thing. Like if you're gonna when you're a swim coach, be a great swim coach. It's like compartmentalizing. But when you're home, like you can't be emailing and texting swim parents the whole time. Like, right? Like you gotta
Yeah.
be able to leave the job as much as the job will not leave you.
It
Like
won't. There's always something there.
there's always something like you have to leave it. So I would just say like the big thing is like committed to being a good husband and dad because and this is also going to sound harsh. I've thought a lot about this though.
Yeah.
These kids that you're coaching, if you're a coach listening to this and you're like, but the kids, but my team, I know you love them, but they leave. Like they move on. All the kids move on. And it's great. You had a great moment in their life and you did a lot for them, but all those kids move on, and the only thing you're going to be left with is your family. And just keep that in mind that just, it sounds kind of like pessimistic,
Yeah.
but
That's
these
not pessimistic. That's realistic.
yeah, like these kids move on. You know what I mean? These kids move on, and one day when they leave, what are you going to be left with? And I'll just never forget. I went to a leadership conference for USA Swimming, and I'm sitting at a table for like six coaches, and like I think I just got married. I think I was in my first year of marriage,
Yeah.
and like four out of the six were divorced, and the fifth one was like, "We're having trouble," and I was like, "Oh God, this is not good. This is bad."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have a lot of advice. Also, you need to be financially stable, right? If you're in a lot of debt and you start getting squeezed financially, that's going to cause other trouble.
Yeah.
So we don't live a lavish lifestyle, but like we're very content with what we have, and like we love that. So that's a
We're
big,
rich in a lot of other ways, that's for
we're-
sure.
yeah, and like that's just us. That's just how we do things. But we also don't have a bunch of all this debt that is putting extra constraints, right? So like my wife just works part-time for our church and she works like 10 to 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
So kind of home a lot, right? We're not like when your wife has a full-time job and you have a swim coaching job, it's opposite. Like you'll end up never seeing them.
I've
So,
experienced that. Yeah. I've literally experienced that because when I first got married, my wife, she's a nurse and she would work
oh
night
yeah.
shifts. She would work night shifts and we literally were sleeping on opposite schedules, two ships passing in the night. It was really hard.
So I would call that like lifestyle design. Like you need to have a conversation and think about what you really want your life to look like, right? Because and then you work towards that. So there's a lot of things, but I think the biggest thing is like just be a good person. Don't be. I see so many guys. And I'm speaking mostly to the young men here who try to hold on to that adolescence way too long.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you don't need to go play golf 12 hours a weekend. Like, I know I'm sure it's fun, but like playing video games and golfing all weekend and watching sports all weekend, like that's kid stuff. I think that's just my thing. So, and I know people out there watch sports and all that, so I'm trying not to be too, but that's just that's my little hardcore take.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on, what you want in life because you can't have a conversation like this under the assumption that every young coach wants to get married or every young coach wants to get married and have kids. There are plenty of people out there who are like, what you just described, that's what I want. I want to play golf. I want to play video games. You're talking about how hard it is to be married with kids and be a swimming coach. Like, I don't want that stuff. That's okay.
It
You
is. It
you
is.
you do you. Nobody's going to pass judgment on that.
No.
But you're not the person who's going to be struggling with balancing coaching
Mhm.
and the personal life nearly as much as someone who might be married or have kids or both and has those extra priorities to have to balance. That's more what we're talking about right now. But I do like what you talk about with like being really excellent at each of them.
Mhm.
And what I've found over the years, and this is something that, just like you said, I've thought about this a lot. This is not an easy thing. My wife does have a full-time job, and I have a full-time job, and we've managed to work out this like very intricate, schedule where you can spend time with each other and take care of the kids and still get our work done. It's a very delicate balance. But
Yep.
anyway, at the end of the day, you I heard my son's preschool teacher one year say at the end of the year, quote unquote, graduation ceremony from preschool, she said, parents, you just need to be present. And I
Yeah.
thought that was really good, because sometimes just being there is good enough. Like you said, you don't want your kids to grow up thinking, I'm not there. But I always like to take it a step further. And I recommend that, being present is great. It's a good start. But I recommend having presence instead of being present. And the
Hmm.
difference between being present and having presence is, if I'm home and I'm playing video games or I'm watching a football game or whatever, my kids are there, I'm present. So at least I'm there, part of their lives and their memory. But if
Yeah.
I'm not doing that, but maybe instead I'm outside in the front yard, throwing the football with them or something like that, then I have presence. And so I try to encourage coaches, when you're at practice, have presence. When you're at home, have presence. Don't just be there, make it meaningful, because as you get older and you have more kids or you have more other responsibilities and your time is sliced up, a smaller slice of time is more important than it used to be. You need to really do a good job with that small slice of time that you have. And having
Yeah.
presence is the way to do that.
Yeah. And the stuff I said is going to sound way, way more harsher when I say it. I'm not perfect, right? Like I'm on my phone too
None
much.
of us are.
None
That's the
of
whole point, right?
so, but I think having the intention of trying to be a good dad, be a good husband is a great, like, there was some statistic that's like parents who read parenting books are like 70% more successful parents, whatever metric they used,
Right.
right? But it's not really the reading books that made them be good parents. It's the people who read books on parenting are the people who are trying to be good parents.
Yeah, that's a
And
good point.
just by actively engaging in the process of parenting or being a spouse, like just literally just trying to be a little better is all it takes. And I think this goes back to swimming too. The kids that just try, like, you don't, it's not, it's, there's not this crazy formula to be a good swimmer. It's like, show up and you got to try. You try a little bit, you're going to get a little better. You get a little better every day, something really special is going to happen sooner or later.
Yeah.
But yes, so all that being said, and then if you do have kids and you're listening to this, and especially if you have almost any age kids, you don't need to take them on crazy vacations or buy them all these, like, have all this magnificent stuff. They just want you.
Yeah. How many times have you had, you get a really awesome toy for a kid, or maybe they get it as like a present from, the grandparents or something like that. And it's like, this is the toy that they've wanted so much. And about 4 days later, it's in pieces, in the playroom or something like that. But meanwhile, the fort they built outside, or the box of cardboard that came from the recycling in the garage that they turned into a Captain America shield and we're running around the front yard doing, and
Yeah,
they've had that piece of cardboard now for 4 months,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
My daughter literally asked me just watch me to play, watch her play. Like she wants me to watch her play.
But
She
that's
hates
hilarious you say that.
because I don't follow her rules when we play.
You know what, Dad? Just sit there and watch me. That's really funny. My oldest son used to. I was just telling my dad about this. My oldest son, he used to, like, when he was younger, he would put on the full helmet, like football jersey, everything. And he's a big Hokies fan because we're from Virginia. My wife's family went on to Tech. I'm Florida State though. Go Noles, even though we're terrible right now. But he used to like throw the football up and run under it and catch it in the backyard. And I would set up like a football field set up in the backyard for him. And sometimes he'd let me play, but other times he just wanted me to sit up on top of the patio and cheer for him. And just so he wanted me to be the dad in the stands watching him,
Yeah.
when he was proud. Like that's how he played. And
Yeah.
so I did it. I was like, great. That was fun though.
Yep.
I know
Yes.
that, like, it doesn't sound like this is a coaching, message that we're sending, but it really is. I mean, a lot of coaching is parenting, because sometimes coaching comes easier to a lot of us than parenting does, because there's a lot of examples, and we have a lot of experience, and there's a lot more room to make mistakes as a coach, because you're
Mhm.
gonna, like you said, kids are gonna come and go, and you're gonna have a lot of opportunities with those kids, and you learn from the mistakes you made, and the next batch you don't make the mistake, and that conveyor belt of kids keep coming through. Well, that's not going to be the case as a parent. You got one shot with your child at that part in their life, and you're going to grow up with them. So as coaches, we tend to perfect the craft really, really easily, but then we are basically always in a constant state of learning as parents as our kids grow up. And so my advice that I literally just keep giving to myself is, when I'm on a deck, I mean, I can walk on a deck, and in any scenario, I can just be on, and I can talk to any parent about any kid, and any kid about any technique, any age, anything, right? And they get the best of me. And I'm like, I'm not like bragging or anything like that. I've just been doing it a long time, but I'm pretty good on the pool deck with the kids and the families. Then I go home and I'm tired. It's been a
Mhm.
long day, and I'm exhausted, or maybe I'm stressed for something else. And the kids need that level of a dad, but
Yeah.
it's hard to be that level of a dad when you're really tired, and you don't have it doesn't come as naturally to you, and patience is a lot harder to come by. So I have like a book that I write notes in, because you write them down with a pen over and over, and it's more likely to become true. And something I want to be true about myself is that in my book every day I write, they deserve the best of you, talking about my kids like on a daily basis, because my swimmers are getting the best of me, and I got to make sure that my kids are getting the best of me at all times too.
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought a lot about this subject because it's very near and dear. Me and Bobby Venturo had a good talk about it. Um,
Love Bobby. Love you, Bobby, if you're listening to this. Big
yeah.
fan.
But yeah, man, I mean that stuff just matters, and if it matters, you're gonna make it work, which I think the beautiful thing about swim coaches is we know how to work. Like you just do. Like some coaches know how to work. It might be true of all coaches, I don't know. But if you're a full-time swim coach, there's a really good chance you know how to work.
Yeah.
And that is a great gift to your family and a great gift to your team.